This is the Ohio Star block, and it's made from squares here in the corners and one in the center, and it's also made from 4 quarter square triangle units. And I'm going to show you how to make these quarter square triangle units. For this method, we're going to cut squares larger than we need, and when we're done piecing the unit, we're going to trim them down to the size we need. Now these are cut 5 inches each, and for our block, I want a 3-inch finished unit. And if you look at this quarter square triangle unit, you'll see that 2 of the fabrics are repeated and they're opposite of each other. You can do this, or you can choose 4 different fabrics if you like. So these are the fabrics that are going to be duplicated in the unit, and these are going to be the other ones. There is a link in the description with a chart telling you how large to cut these squares for which finished size you want. You'll take the lighter squares, or the squares that are going to match up with your 2 squares that are the same color, and you're going to draw a diagonal line across on the back side. Put these together, right sides together, and then we're going to stitch 1/4 inch on either side of this drawn line. Now we've stitched a 1/4 inch on either side of the diagonal line, and we're going to cut them apart on the diagonal line. Once you cut them apart, you're going to press toward the fabric that's duplicated. In this case, it's the blue fabric. So on all 4 of these pieces, press toward the blue fabric. And normally I would tell you to cut off these nubs, but we're going to leave them on because they won't get in our way with this. So now we're going to put these 2 pieces together and these 2 together. And we're going to put them, match the seam allowances or the seam lines, and use your fingers to feel how they lock in place. And you'll see that they are opposite like this. So that's, you know, you've got it right. And don't worry if these don't match up perfectly, because they're going to be cut off later. Now to draw this diagonal line, instead of going from one diagonal to the other, one point to the other, we're going to use our seam line as a guide. So we're going to lay one of the ruler markings along the seam line that we just sewed, and we're going to try to get as close as we can to the point. And again, it doesn't matter because we're going to be trimming them later. And now we're going to draw another diagonal line across these stitches. And I like to put 2 pins in. Now I learned to sew first in the direction going against this where the seam is pressed. You see it's pressed this way, so we're going to start our first stitching down this way. And I'm told that it helps keep it in position. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the way I've learned how to do it. Now we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch on either side of this drawn line, and you do that for the other set as well. Now you've sewn on either side of the drawn diagonal line, and we're going to cut on the diagonal line. Now when we open them up, we'll have our quarter square triangle units. Now you can press toward one direction if you like. If you want to reduce the bulk in the center, I'll show you how to do that. If you look at the stitch we just sewed, this one, and you look at these stitches right above that line, we're going to take those out. And then flip it over, and you're going to take the same ones out on the other side. Now this allows you to press the seam like this. So you're going to open up, those stitches are out, so it opens up that seam like this, right in the center. And then you can press, your pressing will be in a clockwise direction. This will be pressed down and this will be pressed up. Or you can just press to one side, whichever you like. And here are the back sides all pressed, and you see it has a little four patch in the center. And the pressing is all done either in a clockwise or a counterclockwise direction, whichever you've pressed. Now we're going to trim these up to the size we need, and in this case we're going to trim them up to 3.5 inches. Also in the chart that you downloaded is the measurement you're going to use to trim these down. So if you want a 3.5 inch finished, you're going to take half of that, which is 1 3/4 inches, and you're going to start measuring from the center out 1 3/4 inches and trim there on all four sides. Now we want to trim this to 3.5 inches square, and we're going to do our measurement using this diagonal line and the center of the block. So half of 3.5 inches is 1 3/4 inches. You're going to use the 45-degree angle on your ruler and line it up with this 45-degree angle. Then you're going to find the 1 3/4 inches, which is right here. So you keep the angle on this diagonal line here, and this is the 1 3/4 inch right there. And I'm going to slide that up until that 1 3/4 inch reaches the center of the block, the very center. So if you can see, the 45-degree angle is lined up here, and then this is the 1 3/4 inch line right there. And now we just trim off this end and flip it over. Or at this point, you can measure your 3.5 inches and make sure that the 1 3/4 is lined up right here in the center. So here's your 3.5 inches and your 1 3/4 right in the center, and trim this. Now flip this around again, and we're going to trim these two sides. Same way, 45-degree angle on the stitching line, and look for your 1 3/4, which is right there, right here. So it's lined up, and then we're going to trim this edge off. Flip it around and trim it to 3.5. And make sure your 1 3/4 is right here on the center line. And make sure these are even too. Okay, so there is your 3.5 inch quarter square triangle, and do that to all the quarter square units. To finish the Ohio Star block, you'll need to cut 5 squares. 4 of them will be the background and 1 will be the center, and they're cut at 3.5 inches. And you simply sew the rows and then sew the rows together to finish the block. Thank you for watching.